Welcome everyone to Quarantine Q&A. I'm Roger Hoover. It's great to have you back with us on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. And this is, again, Quarantine Q&A that's proudly presented by Alabama One Credit Union. They've been voted Tuscaloosa's best credit union and best mortgage lender. Alabama One offers low-rate auto, mortgage, and business loans, plus protection for it all with Alabama One Insurance. You can visit them at any of their 9 local branches, or you can check them out online at alabama1.org. Alabama One, proud supporter of Crimson Tide Athletics. And today we're talking basketball on the Crimson Tide Sports Network because the man that's joining us has been one of the busiest for the University of Alabama Athletics Department, and that is Alabama men's basketball assistant coach Bryan Hodgson. Coach, how's everything going? Roll Tide.
Good, Roger. Roll Tide to you, and everything's going well, just taking it a day at a time during the quarantine. So looking forward to hopefully getting to coach the guys here soon.
Yeah, of course, it's been a really busy time for you, and that's a very good thing because Alabama has been continuing to do well on their recruiting trail during the quarantine, during the pandemic. Just what the last few months been like ever since we were in Nashville hoping to play Tennessee to where we are now.
You know, it's adapt and adjust to different recruiting styles. We spend a lot of time on Zoom calls. I'm getting pretty comfortable here in front of the phone camera and the laptop camera. But you know what? I think in all honesty, it's benefited us. We've picked up some stuff we can use in the future, even when things do go back to normal. And then also, we've been able to build genuine relationships with the guys we've got coming in just by spending a lot of time on Zoom with their parents and them.
Yeah, and recruiting is really all about relationships. So I imagine when you get back to a setting like where you're doing a lot of Zoom calls and things like that, it really enforces for you that you have to be a great communicator and build a great relationship, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I'll tell you what, like I said before, it kind of has opened up some new doors for us. I think in the past, we got so caught up in going to see these guys playing tournaments and talking to them on the phone. And it would take so long to actually put a name to a face. But now, all the way through the 2022 class, we're able to sit down and put names with faces, and they're able to do the same. And it helps build that relationship and make it a little bit stronger.
Well, it's been a busy time for you guys continuing to recruit and even into this week. What can you tell us about picking up the commitment and then signing of Alex Chiku? And first of all, am I saying it correctly? Chiku.
You are actually, yeah. You're saying it correctly, yeah. Alex is a kid that I've watched for, going on 3 years now since he came to the United States and went to Finley Prep. Finley Prep was a storied program out in Las Vegas and actually closed down, so he was forced to move schools. But I started watching him there and have just kind of kept tabs on him over the last couple of years, and he's really developed. And he's we kind of like to look at him as a poor man's version of like a Kevin Durant or the Greek Freak, as far as he's big, he's 6'11", can play on the perimeter. He's an inside-outside guy, can handle the ball a little bit. Obviously, he's got a ways to go to get to that level of the guys that we're talking about. But as far as comparing him to someone that people know, those would be the closest comparisons, or even a Pascal Siakam, who's someone that he actually tries to study. So he brings a different dynamic that we haven't had here at Alabama, and allows us to stretch the floor and continue to play the pace that Coach Oates wants to play with the long athletic bigs. So looking forward to getting him here.
Yeah, we're certainly all excited about this recruiting class, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a graphic that has kind of every name of guys that are in this highly regarded recruiting class, pretty much top 15 nationally, regardless of what rankings you look at. So I'll just kind of briefly ask you for a couple thoughts on all of these different guys as we go through. First of all, with Chiku, we just mentioned him, but what can you tell us about Keon Ambrose Hilton?
So Keon's a guy, obviously one of our 2 Canadians, that really is kind of a do-it-all. He's kind of a glue guy. He's a workhorse. He prides himself on playing with a ton of energy and enthusiasm. Anybody that got to see him play in high school or AAU would strongly agree with that. He's loud and vocal on the floor, and he almost plays as if he's like hyperactive. So when you can get a kid his size, 6'8", 6'9", that plays with that much energy and is that mobile, it really bodes well for what we want to do as a program, the way we want to play. So we're looking forward to having him. There was a game last year that he played in a tournament in Dayton, Ohio, one of the largest tournaments in the country. He played against two of the top ranked bigs in the country and ended the game with 20 rebounds, 12 offensive rebounds. So that's good. That's something we're going to look for from him. Shore up the rebounding, and then also he can guard, honestly, like the 2 through the 5. He's got quick feet. He'll be able to switch ball screens, which is something that anybody that's watched us knows we do quite a bit. So he'll bring a nice dimension for us.
Let's stick with the name Keon. How about Keon Ellis?
Keon Ellis, we're really excited about Keon. We've kind of we have a special place for junior college guys. Coach Oates and I have won a lot of basketball games with junior college guys on the floor. And as far as that goes, he was one of the best in the country this year. He was the leading scorer for the number 1 junior college team in the country, and really just played well all year. Started watching him last summer, really liked his game, and spent the fall kind of seeing how he would develop and how it would translate into the regular season for them. And he didn't miss a beat. We knew we kind of targeted him early, knew that he was a guy that we wanted. His recruitment obviously came to kind of a halt when the coronavirus hit because he hadn't taken any visits. His season, they were ready to go to the junior college national tournament. So again, that's one of those scenarios where we built the strongest relationship with him before the virus hit, and when push came to shove and it was time to make a decision, he chose to come here. And cool dynamic about Keon is he actually grew up an Alabama football fan.
Oh, really?
So even though he's from Florida, the first time I called him, he said, "Coach, I can't believe Alabama called." He said, "I've been an Alabama football fan since I was born." So that didn't hurt, that's for sure.
Yeah, you got to like that. You bring in a JUCO transfer in Keon Ellis, but you also get to bring in a D1 Ivy League transfer from Yale in Jordan Bruner.
Yeah. So Jordan is to be able to get a guy like Jordan is extremely rare. We're very fortunate. We believe he was the best junior college player. Best graduate transfer in the country to fit our needs. Different rankings have maybe 1 or 2 guys above him, but as far as what we were looking for, it's not even close. He's another guy that at 6'10", 230 can play. Really the 2 through the 5. He handles the ball, he shoots it. He's an unbelievable passer. He's got the only triple-double in Yale basketball history. He almost had a second one. He's and the one really great thing about him is he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to this team to add to guys like Herb and Alex Reese and those guys. So he's been in college for 4 years. He's won the Ivy League. He's played at a high level. And so we're excited to have him. We're looking for him to lead both on and off the court.
A couple more guys left to talk about in this class, so we'll start next with Darius Miles.
Yeah, Darius is a unique story, and there's a kid in the 2021 class that I went to watch down at IMG, and I went to IMG to meet with that young man, and I'm in the gym, and my flight didn't leave for a couple hours, so I happened to wander over to the next gym. And IMG has a high school team and a postgraduate team, and so I sit down to watch the postgraduate team, and it took all of about 5 minutes and 4 or 5 possessions for me to watch Darius Miles and realize that he was a talented kid. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, sure enough, he's got to be signed somewhere, or there's got to be some kind of hitch here that I don't know about the guy. Well, come to find out, he wasn't signed, and he was kind of flying under the radar because he was actually only a senior, but chose to play up on the postgraduate team to stay loyal to the coach that brought him there. So a lot of guys thought he was in his 5th year, and he was only in his 4th. So we hopped on it right away, developed a relationship with him, and kind of the same deal as Keon Ellis. The virus hit before we could even do an official visit, and it came time for him to make a college decision. And we hopped on a couple Zoom calls and spent some time with him on the phone with him and his family, and he decided to come here to Alabama. We're fortunate because he's going to be special. He's big, 6'7", long, athletic guard, probably one of the more athletic guys in the program right now. And so we're looking forward to watching his development.
You have an international flair coming up on this roster with Chiku coming in, but also the same could be said from Canada, Josh Primo.
Yeah, Josh is a special talent. Obviously the rankings and the 5-star and the whole deal kind of kind of says that. But even outside of that stuff, you take all that stuff away. I've been watching Josh since he was in ninth grade. Obviously, Buffalo's about a stone's throw away from Toronto, in the suburbs of Toronto. So I've been watching Josh since he was in ninth grade, playing for an AAU organization up there that I've known the coaches for a long time, and his development has been unbelievable. He's gotten substantially better every single year, and it's not a coincidence. He's one of the hardest working kids that I've been able to be around, and he's gonna bring a lot to the table this year. I think that combining him with Quinterly and Shaq and Herb Jones and on and down the line, John Petit if he comes back to school, to add to that talented guard core with what he's capable of doing, I think we're capable of having one of the better backcourts in the country.
Well, that's certainly exciting for Alabama basketball. And you mentioned as well, you've been doing a lot of Zoom calls trying to recruit, and you even mentioned a couple of the guys that weren't able to come to Tuscaloosa. So when you try to sell them on the University of Alabama and playing in this program, what are your main selling points to those guys?
I think, the biggest thing here at Alabama that kind of, I've been here for just over a year now, and the thing that's kind of caught my attention the most is that the people in the state love the University of Alabama. And, coming from New York, there's multiple pro teams, there's multiple major universities. But when it comes to this state and this university, everybody's on board. And, we always get it's a football school. Well, you're darn right it's a football school. 17 national championships will make you a football school. But one thing I'll tell you is I tell guys when we recruit them, I've showed up to softball games, and there's not a seat empty in that stadium. Walked into gymnastics meets, and there's 17,000 people in there for a gymnastics meet. I mean, you look at the history of the golf program. I mean, on and on. So, as much as it's a football school, it's a school that cares about their athletics, about their student athletes, and about winning. And I tell these guys, if we get, you and we get to the level that we want to be at, the football school thing only will benefit us. We have all the resources, the facilities, and people here want to win in the worst way, and they're going to support us. And I think that's one great thing about this state and about this university is those kids feel that from the time they step on campus. And that's our biggest thing in recruiting is being genuine and honest. And we tell them, hey, people here love Alabama basketball, and you're going to know it, and they recognize that right away. And then obviously the second biggest thing, I recruit to Coach Oates. I think he's one of the best in the country, and I'm not saying that because he's my boss or because I work for him. I think his resume speaks for itself. 3 tournaments in 4 years. If you look at the numbers from an analytics standpoint, we play the way kids want to play. And not only that, they want to play that way, but that way also translates to the NBA. So when you're recruiting kids that have the potential to play for money at the next level, they want to play in a system that's similar. And I think that's something we provide, and it's helped us majorly in recruiting.
Coach Oates wants to play fast, wants to shoot a lot of threes, and Alabama was able to do that last year, top 5 nationally in those categories. Just how did you see kind of the style of play that you all had implemented at Buffalo? How did it translate to the SEC, and what do you guys kind of think moving forward that you learned from your first year at Alabama?
Yeah, I think it's going to work well. I think it's going to work great. Our guys adapted. It took a little while. You take a look at a guy like Kyra Lewis. Kyra excelled in that system. When we got here, Kyra wasn't on any draft boards. And now, I'm going to be honest with you, he's a borderline lottery pick. The feedback that we're getting on Kyra is, teams are saying, hey, if he's still available at 13, 14, we're taking a hard look. And that's unbelievable, and he deserves it. He's one of the hardest working kids I've been around. But the system works. We've proven that, and we recruit to the system, and so I think that's the biggest thing. As the roster continues to turn, and we continue to get guys that fit that system and are comfortable playing at that speed, we're just going to get better and better. And one thing I'll say about the group last year is they did a really good job adjusting. It's not easy to go from the way that they were playing to the way that we're playing now, and they did a great job of adjusting to that. And I think that they, the biggest reason was they saw how it benefited them, and I think it's no big surprise to anyone that it's a fun, exciting style of basketball, and the kids enjoy it.
And of course, you not only had the 6 players coming in as part of this signing class, but you had 3 players last year who weren't able to help you out. Javon Quinterly, James Rojas, Jawan Gary. They got to be around. They got to be part of some practices. Obviously, Rojas and Gary had to deal with their injuries, but how excited are you to see these guys on the floor for Alabama?
I'm beyond excited. Those 3 names, the 3 J's right there that we had sitting out last year. One thing that they shared, all 3 of them, is toughness. Juwan Gary's a tough, athletic, big, physical wing. James Rojas is a tough, big, physical wing / stretch 4. And Javon Quinterly's a tough, northeast guard. And not that the guards down here aren't tough, but he kind of that's kind of something he takes pride in being tough. And so he had a great year at practice for us. There was a lot of days where us as a staff and even Kyra Lewis were like, man, I wish he could be out there next to me, And so the best part, we joke with those guys all the time, as unfortunate as it was that the virus hit and the tournament was canceled. If there was any year to sit out in college basketball, it was last year. So they didn't really lose anything, and they were able to get their bodies taken care of. Even Javon Quinterly, although it wasn't his choice to sit out, he was able to take care of some things on his body and get healed up, and really, most importantly, learn our offense and watch Kyra. And I think that year for him, it's just like a freshman year in college. You're able to adjust and adapt, even on the academic side. So I think it was a big deal for him, and I think all 3 of those guys will bring a lot of benefit to our program this year.
And also John Petit, you mentioned him a little bit ago. He still has over a month to kind of decide whether his name is in the draft or not. Just how much have you been talking to JP over the summer, and how's he starting to feel as we get closer to that deadline coming up?
Yeah, it's just it's unfortunate. It's such a weird time for these guys. We talk to JP all the time. John's involved in the program. We do a lot with him as far as our culture and video conference stuff that we do with the guys. But we're rooting for him. I think he's got a set of parameters that if he feels like, hey, I've got a chance to be taken in this time frame, between this pick and this pick, I'm going to stay in. If I'm feeling that it's not going that way, then I'll come back to college. And that's not something we're pressuring him on. I think I get that question 30 times a day. Is John Petit coming back? I wish I had an answer. I don't. And he doesn't have an answer. I bet he wishes he did too. Unfortunately, the landscape right now in the NBA draft world is there's no in-person workouts. Everything's being done virtually. So, John hasn't had a chance to go get in front of scouts and in front of GMs and show what he's capable of. Mostly just been spending time on Zooms with them and kind of doing the same thing we're doing in recruiting. So we're rooting for him. We know he's got a chance. His name's brought up quite a bit. We're just going to let this thing play out until August 3rd and see what happens.
And he's trying to stay in good basketball shape. I know the same thing could be said for all of Alabama's players that are returning, like Herbert Jones, Jaden Shackelford, Javion Davis, Alex Reese, and we mentioned the newcomers coming in. Just for those players, kind of what do the next few weeks look like as they continue to try and get in great shape, and what's Coach Snowden up to trying to make sure that the strength and conditioning program's going well?
Yeah, so the guys have all been here. They've been on campus. We came back right after football. We did, the whole quarantine and testing process, and it was good. And they've been participating in voluntary workouts for the last several weeks. And we're not allowed to be a part of those. We're not allowed to watch them. Not even really get feedback. But what we do hear is that the guys are getting along great, and that the culture and the environment in the locker room, or I guess lack of locker room, has been really good. The guys really like each other, and they're spending a lot of time together and working hard. So they'll get the next about 9 to 10 days off after this week. And then on July 20th, the NCAA passed, we're allowed to start working with them. So Coach Snowden's been in there the whole time. Our athletic trainer, Clark Holter's been in there the whole time. They've had access to both of those guys for voluntary lift and treatment on their bodies. And then on July 20th, it's back to full go for us as far as, we get 8 hours a week with them, and we can get them in the gym and work them out and start to put in some stuff. And we're looking forward to that. It's a step in the right direction towards normalcy, and I know the guys are looking forward to it. So that's kind of what's next for us. And then from there, just take it a day at a time.
And as we start to wrap things up, everyone gets excited when they see some non-conference matchups announced. And this week, everybody really paid attention when it was announced that Alabama and Memphis will have a charity exhibition coming up, home and home series coming up in 21 and 22. Just how excited are you for that? And are we going to get to see Penny Hardaway against Coach Oates in some one-on-one before that? I mean, it's a charity exhibition. Things like that have to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm for it. And I will tell you this. I'm going to stir the pot a little bit because I know that you do some of these interviews with Coach Oates. So you'll have to ask him. Him and Penny, they exchanged some friendly, smack talking at an AAU tournament a couple years ago when we were at Buffalo. Penny had just gotten the job at Memphis, and we wanted to play Memphis, and their schedule was done at the time. And Coach Oates, in true Coach Oates fashion, walked right up to Penny Hardaway and asked him if he was scared to play us. So they've always joked about it since. It's been a very friendly conflict between the two, but they've joked about it a lot. And now that we're here at Alabama and it's starting as a good cause, I think we may have to get them in a one-on-one game. So I love Nate Oates, and I want to keep my job, but I don't, I'm afraid to say I don't think he'll be able to beat Penny in that situation, but hopefully we beat him when we put our guys out there against theirs.
Yeah, that's certainly what it's all about. But everyone's really excited with that news. And I know as different matchups have been announced all throughout the summer and as we get closer to the season, everyone's going to be really excited to see the Crimson Tide hit the hardwood. And then last thing, how about the new court design we see at Coleman Coliseum?
I love it. It's something, once I moved here, you see that state of Alabama outline on a lot of stuff, on a lot of things, whether you're in the airport or, just different hats. And I've always kind of taken a liking to it. I think that there's a part of that lets this state know that we're letting people know who's in charge of college athletics in the state of Alabama, and so having that outline on the floor with the script day, I think it's beautiful. I think we sat down as a staff and kind of looked at some options, and that one was pretty much unanimous. So we're excited. We think it looks great. We're looking forward to putting our guys out there this year.
Well, we're certainly excited to see that. Coach, you've been doing some really great work on the recruiting trail for Alabama. We're glad you're starting to get the guys back in Tuscaloosa over the last few weeks and start to get ready for the upcoming season. But just thank you for joining us today on Facebook. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thank you, Roger.
All right, that was Bryan Hodgson. Thanks again for watching this edition of Quarantine Q&A.